Yo, what up, friends? I'm not here to sway your vote. And at this point, again, if there are any undecided voters out there, I don't know what you're waiting on. It's the last day. Tomorrow, y'all, we will not just be choosing our next president. We will also be deciding on which party controls the powerful legislative chambers, as both the Senate and the House of Representatives will have a lot of change going on, which will have huge consequences for not only our economic and foreign policies, but other policies next year and beyond. No incoming president has taken office without their party's control of the House or Senate since George H.W. Bush, the older Bush, in 1989. Bush knocked down the towers. Y'all are in for a treat. I don't know a person. There's not a person in my life that I know more that knows politics than a mole. He has been doing politics his whole life. That's what he studied in college. He has run for office in places before as well. So you all are in for a treat. All right. So again, no incoming president has taken office without their party's control, which helps them to do what? To pass laws, to get things through the House and the Senate. When you have divided chambers, it makes things harder to pass because then the other side will block laws from being passed, which we have seen plenty of times before. So there are a lot of things at stake here. The stake of democracy, the stake of our nation is at fate. Control of Congress, fate of trillions of dollars, including Donald Trump's former president Donald Trump. Let me give him his proper respect. 2017 tax cuts are expiring next year. Trump wants to make those cuts permanent, while Kamala Harris would like to raise taxes on the wealthy Americans and corporations. You know those Trump tax cuts because they were heavily maligned for being a tax cut for the rich, helping his buddies and other people, all the lobbyists and all the people that make money off of these politicians and things like that, all of the super PACs and other things that are other entities, that are making money. So in terms of the little man, if those cuts do not expire and the tax cuts continue on, well, that continues to mean that the rich people are making hand over foot money off of the little people, all off of the smaller people, which honestly, in my eyes, has been going on for way too long in this country. I understand this country is a capitalist country, and I'm not aside from anybody making the old greenback dollar. You know what I mean? Go out and make your money. If you have an idea, if you have a business and you go out and you make the money, more power to you. We are a capitalist society. But at the same time, if you are that rich, you should have to pay your fair share, which is more than other people, in order to support the nation that you're making so much money off of. I'm going to ask Amul that question when he arrives, because I don't know how other people feel about that, but that's just how I feel. Anyways, where we stand right now, the Democrats currently control the Senate, but they will face an uphill climb to retain that chamber on election day. And what happened was there was a Democrat wave year where a lot of Republicans have retired. So a lot of Democrats took over positions in red states that are going to be probably going back to the Republican side of the aisle. The House is now controlled by the Republicans, the GOP. That is a toss-up right now and could come down to the tightly contested districts in California and New York. And with that, we have the treat. Amul Madan, my friend from way back in the day. Man, I'm so glad you came on because politics, I know, is your thing. You have been deeply involved in politics for as long as I've known you, which has been since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. So First of all, let me ask you, before we get into the actual race and the facts behind all the different conspiracies and different claims that are happening just now, I had mentioned, and I believe, knowing you as well as I do, that you're going to agree with me, Trump's tax cuts are set to expire, the ones that he enacted in 2017, which were much maligned for being a tax cut for the wealthy.
Right.
As you know, this is a capitalist society, which I completely support as an entrepreneur. I am all about people making their money. But I also believe that people, and especially the wealthy, need to pay their fair share, which is more, in order to support the country that they make their money off of. How do you feel about that sentiment?
I agree with you. I do. Okay, his tax credits are expiring. That's cool. What's next?
Yeah.
I don't think that he's gonna win tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that Kamala has a shot. And before I go further, I just want to say this. I'm going to backtrack for a second. I know your viewers may not like it, but I have to do this.
No, we got all the time in the world. Me and you.
This is the first time on the show. Love the show. I do think you don't talk a whole lot about the Commanders, but that's probably because you don't want to bring up the nickname. That's fine. That's okay.
Dude, did you see the interview I did with DC Commanders insider Shane Peter? He was the one that was talking.
I did. I was just messing with you. Nor the Red Sox, but that's a whole different, can of worms that we can talk about.
Because apparently you're a national fan anyways. We ain't going to talk about that.
I'm a fan of both. You could be a fan of one team in each league, I think.
I'm gonna do the Trump dance. I'm gonna do the Trump dance for that one. I'm gonna do the Trump
please
dance.
please don't do that. Don't. Yeah, no. Your dad's watching this probably. So pivoting back to politics for a second, it's worth giving Kamala a shot, I think, because she was the VP. Yeah, it's a second in command. Biden was in office. And I kind of agree with her that it's not all going to be the same. I think that
Now, let me push back for a second, because there's an interview that's going around very popularly here in these last few days, which shows her, when being asked by the news reporter if she would change anything that Joe Biden did, she said she would not. But as we know, there were multiple things done incorrectly, including the worst of that Afghanistan pullout.
Right. That's just posturing. She'll get us out of Afghanistan. I think that she'll knock Bibi up against a wall. I mean that metaphorically, not actually. But she'll, knock some sense into him, is what I mean by that. And try to resolve this Israel and Gaza situation, which, if you think about it, and the young viewers, you might need to go onto YouTube, do it when you're not watching this show, by the way. But we were in college, Omar and I, back in 2000 and 2001 and 2002. So
you were in college. I was in military.
Well, yeah, but back then we had the same issues with Israel and Palestine back then. There were, so many protests, and I understand the issues. I'm aware of the issues, but at some point they have to be resolved. How they're resolved, I can't speak for the campaign. I can't speak for Vice President Harris, at least not this cycle. So we'll just have to see where she goes with, the policies that she enacts. I do think that her tax cuts will favor the middle class a little bit more. And if you make, say, Elon Musk money, then sure, you're going to have to pay your fair share of taxes. But, that's just the price you pay for making a lot of money in this country.
Yeah. And so let's go back to something you said just a couple. Oh, you know what? Do you have headphones by chance? I'm hearing an echo on your end.
I can find headphones. I don't have headphones on me. You want me to go get my headphones real quick?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, because there's an echo. I'll hold down the feedback.
Okay.
All right. So just to let you all know, this comes from the Council on Foreign Relations website, so CFR.org, the Council on Foreign Relations. And this breaks down each candidate's foreign policy and their policy on other sorts of other subjects and topics that are important in this election. So this is what they have for each candidate on Israel, Gaza, and the Middle East. As we know, the Middle East continues to command global attention and pose challenges for us as The Hamas, the Hezbollah, the Houthi rebel group, all of these different terrorist groups are fighting for different territories and different countries and are dragging a lot of innocent civilians from all of these different countries into their conflict, which is destroying a lot of innocent lives and causing a whole bunch of conflict, which can obviously bring more pressure onto us as we are allies of Israel. Now, Mo was just mentioning that there are certain cases that each candidate is going to have. So this is each candidate's a very short synopsis. Again, Council of Foreign Relations, CFR.org, comes directly from here. In Donald Trump's case, Trump's approach to the Middle East has been defined for strong support for Israel and Saudi Arabia and a confrontational stance towards Iran. He backed away from his long-standing bipartisan consensus by saying he wasn't interested in a separate Palestinian state. Kamala Harris supports a ceasefire and hostage release deal in the war between Israel and Hamas, and she calls for a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. As a senator, she endorsed the Iran nuclear deal and voted for restrictions on arms sales to Saudi Arabia. So, that being said, right, that gives us a little more context into how each candidate feels about that subject. But as you mentioned, it's very important, and it has always been an issue with the United States because of how important of an ally Israel is. Now, you're not, again, on this show, you come to get facts, you come to get research nuance. I'm not here to influence your opinion. I would tell you to do what Amul said. Go to YouTube, watch the history of this, because it's much deeper, and you probably don't even know the right history. This goes back way to the freaking Empire days. So go get informed on this subject from someone better than us two. But I do not have a solution either, because my solution would be a two-state solution, which the countries obviously do not agree with. Amul, pick up from here. What are your thoughts so far? Oh, I can't hear you. Are you muted? Yep, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. I was going to say, I hate referencing the West Wing like this. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I think it's season 6. There is an episode arc where they're talking about this very thing, where they're trying to get Israel and Palestine to sit down and talk through a two-state solution. So aside from YouTube, which I know there's a lot of things that are fake, if you're in college, take history classes. Learn about what's going on.
There should be a library there, right? Isn't there a library?
If your SGA isn't like, I'm gonna do a parting shot to VCU's SGA. If your SGA isn't like VCU's and like trying to get out of like the first, like kill First Amendment rights, which they were trying to do a couple years back, then just sit in on a couple of their meetings. You are allowed to do that, so that you can at least learn from a local level and a collegiate level what what the conflict is about and how there are possible avenues for just resolution. But it's a tough discussion to navigate, I will say.
So let's move this a little broader then, and because Israel is our ally, Ukraine is our ally, but a lot of people have, and especially on the GOP conservative side, but a lot of liberals as well, have started to want to decrease the of money and supplies we're giving to Ukraine, and at some point, that fatigue is going to start to happen in Israel as well. So, how much longer can we pretend to be everybody's hero? How much longer can we, and maybe not pretend, maybe pretend is the wrong word. Maybe we still are the world's protector. I don't think other countries see us that way, though.
I don't think we are. I don't think we are where we were when we graduated high school. I don't think we are where we were when you were off in the military and I was in college at all. How long can we keep doing this? I ask myself that same question every State of the Union. Every State of the Union. I don't know. Ideally, as long as Congress keeps funding it, and as we know, coming up in tomorrow's election, we're still going to have a divided Congress. I think Hakeem Jeffries is up for speakership if the Dems win the Senate, and the House will remain Republican if everything remains, as is. If things go as Alan Lakeman wants them to, in which case, don't look up the presidential. Unless if you are a GOP, and even if you're not, even if you're a Dem, vote. And I will say that. Go vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm not going to tell you, I think at this point, pros and cons have been laid out on both sides. And, you already know who you're voting for. If you're still undecided,
that's crazy.
Flip a coin.
I almost know you're still undecided. That's wild.
Pick a side, do something. It's easier than picking. God, I hate making this reference. It's easier than picking health insurance during open enrollment.
Very
that's
hard.
Such a bad reference, man. I'm so sorry.
No, I worked at a Medicare company doing marketing for about a year and a half, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Just to clear something up that we mentioned earlier, the tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts that would expire, the ones in 2017, and the ones that Harris would enact, the Wall Street Journal notes is a gap of $2.3 trillion. That's a lot of money.
Up or down? Up or down?
Well, down. Yeah, it would be less.
Down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When would she be? The Journal usually leans conservative in election years, so I'm surprised they made that. Right now,
let's get into that. More than 48% of the total number of people who voted in the 2020 election have already casted their ballot. Early voting is all the rage after Donald Trump told his supporters last time not to vote early, to go to the polls. It turns out the conservatives are actually leading the way
they are.
in terms of overall in early voting, while the women demographic is higher than the men.
Right, and do you know who's leading in early exit polls? In terms of it's Harris at the moment. So I know she's up in Iowa. So vote tomorrow. First round of exits is at 11 a.m. So make a plan. Vote if you are in line at right when your your area of voting, your voting booth closes. Then stay in line. Don't leave.
Right.
Because
great
you want
advice.
your vote to be counted. Yeah.
They cannot kick you out. They
can't kick you out. They can't kick you out at all. So your vote counts. Whether you and I'll give you this. Not many people know this. Okay, say you voted. Did you vote, Omar, already, or did you do? Are you going to vote tomorrow?
Absentee.
Okay, so you can actually track your ballot once it goes in. They let you. Yeah, they let you know what your ballot number is, so that you can track your ballot to see when it's been counted. And you can certify on your own that you don't need people from Georgia or Nebraska to help count your ballot. But sorry, I had to. I lived in Georgia for a year, so I sort of know what it's like in this. I think this election cycle they're going to go purple, at least in Atlanta, but red everywhere else. So it's because of what Kemp's doing, but that's a whole other ball of wax that we can get into later.
Would that be because of the increase that Trump has popularity-wise with the black men now?
Yes and no. So Kemp passed a lot of rules and regulations for their courts to basically
Governor Brian.
Gerrymander different polling places where you could go vote, and made it so that it was harder. Plus, he he expelled a lot of people from voter rolls as well. So he just made it tougher. Like you had to go and re-register, which if you haven't registered, John Oliver did it, and I say that because he voted last time, and I think I watched his episode over the weekend, and he's doing the same thing this time around. He's not re-registering, but you can register day of. So I will say. But I'm excited. We're gonna see how things go. I think early on I said that we were up by 8. If you and I had talked back in August, I would have been like, yeah, she's up by 8, and we'll see how things go. Was I'll be excited. Now I think she's up by 2. So
this is what I have just to clear this up. So obviously there are margins of error on both sides, so this could swing 1 to 2 points either way. The final polls released this morning by the New York Times, Siena College, Morning Consult, Rasmussen, ABC News, Atlas Intel, and NBC News show a neck-and-neck picture when broken down by swing states. Looking at Morning Consult's final survey shows that Harris has a 2-point lead nationally, but Trump is ahead of Harris in North Carolina and Georgia by 2 points, and ahead in Wisconsin by 1 point.
That'll change.
Tied in Arizona.
That'll change.
Would that go red or will that go blue?
That's leaning red right now. I'd prefer it if that goes red, then Nevada has to go blue, I think.
And tied in Pennsylvania.
That'll probably, because of what happened this weekend, or even before this weekend, with the comic that made some racist comments, I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
My people and I are not very happy about that. So, not that it's going to make a difference, because again, probably at this point, most people have either voted or have decided on who they're going to do. But I did see a YouTube video earlier where they were interviewing Trump voters and asking them if this would, who are Puerto Rican, and asking them if this would have changed their opinion. And there are still a lot of as we call them, Thomases that will want to be more Caucasian than their heritage suggests, and so they're still voting for Trump. But that being said, let's get this all out in the open. Those were some nasty comments that comedian has. And look, I am all one for free speech for comedians. If he had said that in a Netflix special, I would have had no problem with it whatsoever. Actually, I mean, while it's offensive to the people, to myself and the people of my island and Puerto Rico, and while the watermelon joke was offensive to black people, and all the other jokes he made about the Palestinians and the Mexicans, and all of these jokes were horrendous and just not in good taste, or in very poor taste. But if they had been done on a Netflix special, cool. I'm all for it, man. Whatever. Free speech, you're getting paid for that. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But to do it at a political rally, and then not even taking into account that you're hurting the person that you're trying to boost up, it just seems like a really bad look.
As an entrepreneur, let me ask you this. As an entrepreneur, if you were undecided, if you could put yourself in the shoes of one of your countrymen who are also undecided, or who is undecided, rather, do you think this would sway you one way or another, given what he said? Like, would it sway you towards him, or would you be like, nah, fam, I'm good. Like, I don't need that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, not only has it swayed a lot of people, I mean, again, it didn't affect me, but I've talked to many Puerto Ricans, including all the people in my family who are all still living on the island, and they've talked to many people, and the majority of Puerto Ricans have completely written off Trump. Most of them, to be honest, didn't really care for him after his stunt after Hurricane Maria. So, no matter what Trump says, that he's the best with all groups and everyone likes him, In Puerto Rico, the words on the ground speak a lot differently as to them embracing Trump at all. And now this definitely pushed a lot of more people over the edge to Kamala Harris's side. Now, again, that's not everybody. There's going to be your outliers and your other pieces of crap that we have in every race and in every heritage. But I mean, if you're asking me, that's a pretty big and stupid comment to say that, especially in a diaspora of New York and Pennsylvania, the states which have big, huge Puerto Rican communities.
Absolutely, and to say nothing of, I believe there's also a sizable Puerto Rican contingent in Miami as well, right? So, like, down there where most of them, everyone leans red. It's possible they also could have been worked up. I know that he hasn't said very much about Indians, but I know that a small minority. This is what happens when you catch an idea at the same time. But a small minority, because of his business acumen, as it were, side with him. I don't, because you know me since we were kids. You know what side I lean as it is, but I try to be effective about this now that I'm out of the whole political. I mean, I'm in it, but I'm not in it. I'm retired. That's my official position. I'm retired. It's hard for me to side with that, to get on board with that, given what happened during his last, when he was president, those 4 years, and just it was awful. No one. 9/11 changed. I'm gonna go back. 9/11 changed the way we treat people of color in this country, and to an extent, and it got pushed, almost further. Just it wasn't as kind. It wasn't as just welcoming. There were a lot of people who chose to leave. I had friends who were like, all right, I'm just going to go find work in another country. Or I'm going to, they happen to be working for a company that had a European office. So they were going to work in Europe. But, I don't know. I can't get on board with the same. I can't get on board with that. Like, he had his time. In my view, it's over. But I can't control what's going to happen tomorrow. So just go vote. I'll say that.
And so you said earlier that you believe that Kamala is going to win. Now, obviously, I know which way you lean. But now knowing the polls and knowing how close things are now, and I can't believe there's 2% undecided voters. That's ridiculous. But anyways, whatever.
It happens.
Now that you know how close it is, are you going to stick with your prediction here on this show?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course I am. Of course I am.
I don't agree. I think that Trump's going to win.
You are not the first friend that I said that.
I don't back either. I mean, I pretty much don't want to go back to. You know me. I'm an independent. I don't like politicians. You know how I think most politicians. Yeah. You are literally the only politician I trust. Like,
I don't. I'm not even a politician.
Like, I don't like the politicians. I think they're liars, cheaters, stealers, all that stuff, scumbags. But they're a necessary evil as well in society.
Speaking from experience, a little bit, because I was on campaigns in undergrad. I was on campaigns post grad. It wasn't bad in the early days. I'll say that. We could talk. I lean left, but I had a lot of friends across the aisle. We used to break bread. We used to drink over at the Hawk and Dove, and it was fabulous. Now you don't drink at the Hawk and Dove as much. Things changed in 2016, and I don't know from a GOP standpoint, how much he's damaged the party. And because you have to have balance. If you have too much of a good thing, then inevitably either people get complacent or there's always going to be something to fight for. And I agree with where Harris is going to try to take the country, but how is the GOP going to come back? Because at some point he's got to retire. If in 4 years, he's 78 now. If in 4 years he's 82, is he going to run again? And if he doesn't run again, who's going to take his spot? What's the bench look like? And are they willing to go back to the way things used to be in John McCain's time? Or, I'm not going to reference, I'm not going to reference the Bush years. But you know what I mean? In simpler times where you could actually talk across the aisle and, you could have proper conversations and, you could agree and disagree, and that's okay. And then you would go back to talking about, why Giannis maybe deserves another ring if he can get, the right amount of people around him or something. I don't know. Giannis should get another ring, but that's a different story for a different time. That's a different topic. But or why Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. God rest his soul. But I don't know. I think it's harder now. And when it gets to this point, you want to know what's going to happen next, how things are going to shake out. You're in Nashville, so I'm here, and they've boarded up every all near the White House. Everything is boarded. Wow! Go to WashingtonPost.com. You can see pictures of this, and it's anticipation of if something were to, if 45 wins, I still call them 45. If 45 wins, what will happen? I remember January 6th. I live in Arlington now, so they had to board up the apartment complex that I live in. I had to tell the project that I was on, I have to hop off for my safety right now. So you have to sort of be prepared for everything that's going to come our way. Things are different.
Do you think that, we are in a different time where the discourse is obviously more, violent. The divisiveness has increased, and yes, that is. There's no doubt about it. A lot of it is attributed to, Donald Trump and the rhetoric that he spews as well. That's a lot of times. It's funny because I will say this, and I hate that I feel this way, not because of me as a voter, but just because the type of person Trump is. I mentioned earlier in the Pete Rose thing, it was also about his character. Regardless if I even agreed with Trump's policies or not, the fact is that he's just a very despicable human being.
Yes, I agree.
Misogynistic, he's sexist, he's racist, he doesn't care about anybody but himself. He doesn't even like his own family. His wife doesn't even talk to him. I found out his wife calls him POTUS in text messages, which is very weird.
POTUS means President of the United States, so he still uses that.
Damn, you can't even call my real name wife. Anyways, but I say all that to say that he's not a person in my eyes that represents someone that should be leading any country whatsoever. But irregardless of that, a lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people like his voicelessness. A lot of people like his aggressiveness and his tendencies. But it's funny because I watch every single Trump rally. I find he's a wrestling heel. That's what he is. He is Hulk Hogan, and that's why he brings him on, because Hulk is just doing what he, and that's what he does. He is just a wrestling heel. He's out there doing his promos at the rallies. So I watch pretty much every Trump rally that I can still to this day because I find them hilarious. I will laugh for 3 hours while he just moves on. But it was funny because I turned into the first one yesterday at 3 rallies yesterday. I watched 2 of them. I missed the middle one.
Okay.
But right when I tuned in for the first one, I came in about 5 minutes after it started, and I was like, "All right, let's see what he's talking about." I bet he's talking about the whatever, the Democrats or whatever. So right when I get on, the first 2 words that I hear are "stupid people," and I'm just like, "Oh my god!" Like, I don't want my president calling anyone else stupid, and it was like the first word I heard when I tuned in, and then he put on a video about Kamala mentioning his name, and it was a cut together, spliced video of Kamala saying Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, and he's not even aware to the fact that he's literally been talking about her for the past 15 minutes, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's happening here. Are we in some sort of like, what was that old show called?
It's not an old show. Black Mirror still exists. Mirror still exists.
I'm thinking similar to that, but it was way back in the day. The thing is on the wing. The thing is on the wing.
Yeah. The thing is on the wing.
You know what I'm talking about. Come on, help me here. Oh no, God. It's on the tip of my tongue.
If you know this and you're in the chat, type it out.
Please, someone give us the name of this show. It's from like the 70s. It's oh my God.
I thought you were thinking of
That's gonna upset me so much.
2001 Space Odyssey. I thought that's what you were thinking.
It's similar to that, but that's not what I'm talking about either. I'm talking about the one where they have the different episodes, that different things happen.
Oh, if it was from the 70s, brother, we never watched that. It's fine.
Okay, anyways. Doesn't matter.
You might have, but I never did.
It's gonna come back to me. I'm gonna remember it. Because the episode of is they were on a plane and there was like a gremlin on the wing and the guy was like inside and he's like sweating, and it was a whole episode about just like this being scared on a plane sort of thing. And it was that type of show.
Mission Impossible? No, that's not it.
What are you talking about? It was a sci-fi show, fool.
You still call people fool? Come on, man.
Oh, you're damn right I call people fool. Anyways, before we get you out of here, what are your thoughts on the Electoral College? This is a pretty big issue on both sides of the aisle. Some people would like to abolish the Electoral College, but other people don't because they adhere to what the Founding Fathers wanted to do, which was protect the rural vote from getting overrun by the urban vote, which would happen. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious and logical that would be the next step to happen. So do you agree, or do you think we should keep the Electoral College?
We can, but I don't really see a real need for it anymore. It's a lot like daylight savings time. I mean, I will say this, and I'm sorry, I'm not answering that particular question first, but like a lot of things, we don't use calculators anymore to do math. We use our phones. We don't. Our body clocks are aligned to standard time as opposed to daylight savings time. Is there a real need for the Electoral College? Maybe, maybe not. I think we could easily. What do you think? Do you think we should abolish it, or do you think we should keep it? Where do you stand on this? Because you're like a stone's throw away at this point. This whole thing is a stone's throw away from MSNBC at this point. We could both jump on. What is it? We could both jump on Rachel Maddow in 30 minutes if you wanted to. I'm kidding when I say that. We're not doing that. Yeah, I'm kidding. We're definitely not doing that. Nor are we on NPR later on tonight. That's a whole segment of it. But what do you think? Should we do the Electoral College, or should we just, should we keep it, or should we abolish it?
Well, I mean, let's look at both sides of this. The reason for eliminating it would be that multiple presidents have lost the popular vote, but still not been instilled as president because of the Electoral College. The other side of that, yes, the other side of that being that the urban centers, which clearly have the majority of the population of each state, would logically, again, just looking at things inherently and logically, they would overrun the vote of the rule. And those two constituencies are quite different. And I can tell you, because if you come to Nashville, the dichotomy of being here inside of the city center of Nashville and how diverse that is, and juxtaposing that with going 15 minutes south outside the city and possibly having to avoid being lynched because my name is Omar and I'm brown. So like I see it every day. I hear it every day. I hear racism all the time here. But I still feel like those people need to be represented and respected as well. So
they should be. That'll agree with.
And I feel like if you take that away, there is no protection for that. And I feel like the Democratic candidate would probably win the majority of the time, which just wouldn't be fair.
They would. I mean, I'm fine with keeping the electoral college. I'm in favor of increasing Supreme Court size, but we can talk about that.
No. So please, and hold on real quick. Yes, thank you, Clubber D. Thank you, Dion. Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is exactly what I was thinking about. Thank you,
Dion.
Thank you, Jonathan. No,
see, this is what happens when you get two 40-plus-year-olds together. We're just trying to hash things out.
I love it. No, but you know a lot about the Supreme Court because, again,
yes, I do.
This is what you studied as
Scalia and Ginsburg. Met them both.
Yeah. So go ahead. What are your thoughts on the Supreme Court? There are a lot of people that want to, what is the word I'm trying to look for?
Influence?
No, they want to abolish the what is it called?
The term limits.
Well, term limits definitely need to be. There needs to be term limits. I completely think there should be term limits. Like you shouldn't be a Supreme Court justice for more than 20 years. I'm sorry.
At this point, yes. The size of the court, was that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
So, allow me to take you on a quick history lesson. And this is the part where normally, if you guys have already been bored by this conversation, just leave it on, fall asleep, come back in about 5 minutes. We'll be good.
And make sure you're liking this right now so we can get promoted out there while we have
this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit Omar up in the DMs and tell him how much you love the Mets. So historically speaking, the court was 6, I believe, at first, way back when. And then they got it up to 9. They increased the court size to 9. And I would be in favor of them increasing the court size to 12. Just even if it was on a limited basis, maybe 50 years, the rest of our life, for the rest of at least our lifetimes, and my niece's lifetimes too, perhaps. But I think that would be a good idea. But it also depends on who's in power. We already know that Clarence Thomas is probably going to resign if 45 comes in power again. He sort of tipped his hand with it a couple times. He refused to take John Oliver's $2 million plus retirement fund or retirement.
I remember that. That's funny.
Yeah, which is great. And so, the court's going to lean further right than it was in my day. It's a reason why a lot of these, why we as a society work better when the court is balanced. It was gutted when sorry, forgive me. I was gutted when, it ended up being where the Dobbs decision came down and, there go abortion rights. It's the end of Roe v. Wade. Because that had been around for ages. Now, that said, I'm very respectful of the court. I understand what their function is as a body, as a governing body. Well, not really governing, but as a legal body. And it would be nice if the court was balanced again. I'll say that.
So what happens if it's balanced? Who makes the deciding vote? Because right now the reason it's unbalanced, as far as I understand it,
Chief Justice.
Okay.
It would be Justice Roberts.
And I also have to ask you this because I know she was one of your idols, RBG.
Ginsburg, yeah, I met her on a few occasions.
Right. And awesome lady by all accounts. I think she did a lot for women. But that being said, there are a lot of people on the Democratic side that were upset that she did not retire before she died, thus letting Trump be allowed to install multiple right-wing leaning jurors. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it. I'm okay that, as some of my friends have said privately to me, that she stayed too long at the fair. Because I'm the type of person that if you love what you do, it's not a job. I love what I do professionally. So it's not, I don't view it as a job. You love what you do, you're having fun. And she was clearly having fun. It was different after Scalia passed away. Because Scalia and her were they fought a lot. And it was fun. Because outside of the court, they were legitimately friends. They would go on vacations with each other. And it was just awesome. You don't see that now.
Right.
And so, the reason I want the court to be expanded, maybe 3 if Harris comes into power, if Harris gets elected, is that way it might be a little bit more balanced. So you have the voices of conservatism and liberalism, duking it out and putting together dissents that are just chef's kiss. Read some of Sotomayor's dissents. And even Jackson as well. Read some of hers. And read some of the conservative ones too.
But just to say, Sotomayor, the first Puerto Rican female, and also Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first Black female Supreme Court.
So, the reason I say read some of the conservative dissents too, is because at least it gives you a window into their mind. You may disagree with it, and that's fine. I more than likely disagree with it as well. But at least you have a view into the other side. It's a lot better than being ill-informed. It's a lot better than saying, okay, well, I'm just going to, look at just one side and that's it. I'm not going to look at both sides of the issue and figure out for myself, who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah, and I mean that's why everybody comes to this program. They come for they come to get both sides of the coin. They know I am the yin and the yang personified, and they know that I will give them all facts and nuanced research. So we appreciate.
Did you just say you're the yin and the yang personified?
No. I'm balanced. I am yin and yang personified. I am both. I am the water and the wine. Right.
Okay. All right. You know what? Let's go. Have you told us already yet?
Oh.